Thank you. For the record, my name is Dersu Cedar. Senate Bill 18 requires the Alaska Department of Education and Early Development to formulate a model cell phone policy that prohibits the use of non-school issued wireless telecommunication devices in schools. Additionally, the bill requires every Alaskan public school district to either adopt this model policy or draft an original policy that accomplishes the same goal, and obligates that school districts share their policies with all potentially impacted parties while allowing for emergency exemptions within those policies. An epidemic is threatening to overtake Alaska, one that affects the mental well-being and academic performance of students statewide: cell phone misuse. One dominant facilitator of this epidemic's pervasion is the subject of Senate Bill 18 under consideration today: sanctioned cell phone use in educational environments. It is the purpose of this bill to improve student engagement in the classroom by restricting the presence of cellular devices, hereby improving student learning outcomes and mental health. Alaskan students are unknowingly diluting the quality of their education by embracing passivity in the classroom through engagement with their phones rather than their teachers. Numerous studies have demonstrated a negative correlation between cell phone use and learning outcomes. One 2021 study confirmed that cell phone use impedes academic performance, citing statistically significant data corroborating the claim that cell phone use is explicitly to blame for the determined result. I bear first-hand witness to its damaging influence every day at school, whether with my table partner in AP Lit, who misses half the daily lecture because he's occupied with Clash Royale, or my friends in the back of AP Spanish busy maintaining their Snapchat streaks instead of their grades. Alaskans express persistent interest in prioritizing education. Restricting students' access to cellular devices during dedicated learning hours is an inexpensive first step in the right direction. It is also a step that 15 states have already taken and 28 states are considering taking in their legislatures this year. After attending Winterberry Charter School for the entirety of my primary education, I was egregiously unprepared for the negligible work ethic, critical thinking capacity, and interpersonal skills expected of me at East relative to my experience at Winterberry. What policy distinguished Winterberry from East to which one might attribute this distinction? Screen use, particularly that of wireless telecommunications devices, or, as they are known colloquially, cell phones. Phones weren't even permitted on campus at Winterberry, hence reducing the probability of students exploiting internet resources, weaponizing online social media platforms for cyberbullying, and encountering cognitive underdevelopment commonly associated with excessive screen use, resulting in depreciated learning outcomes. Everyone's work was their own at Winterberry, and everyone's work was their best. Meanwhile, at East, I was alarmed at the unconcern my peers, through no fault of their own, exhibited toward their education. Many deemed the magnetic vortex of social media more worthy of their time and attention than fulfilling their academic potential. I struggled to take school half as seriously as I had at Winterberry, specifically due to the freedom surrounding cell phone use in the face of a painfully evident attention war between teachers and cellular devices. Allowing arbitrary cell phone use in schools essentially equates to encouraging arbitrary cell phone use in schools. Educational institutions establish the standard to which students hold themselves in every realm of life. If that standard inadvertently endorses internet engagement through loose cell phone regulation, despite evidence that such engagement is devastating to student mental health and scholastic accomplishment, then it is hardly a standard worthy of imitation. Alternatively, many have argued that restricting access to cell phones in schools poses a safety concern in the event of a school shooting. However, I am inclined to agree with Ken Trump's assessment, no relation, in his interview for the Washington Post, which asserted that, quote, "The general rule is, when you're in a lockdown, educators and safety officials don't want kids on phones because you want their full 100% attention on the teacher or other educators," end quote. Phones are more of a liability than an asset in these situations. They're distracting during class, and they're distracting during emergencies. Furthermore, the subjective temptation to post about such an incident online could alert a shooter to a student's whereabouts, while the collective temptation to dial 911 could clog emergency phone lines, diminishing the likelihood of their delivering an efficient response. Every teacher I have discussed this bill with, whether active or retired, urban or rural, has expressed total agreement with the argument presented in favor of its passage. They recognize that Alaska needs to set a new standard for students, one that empowers them to pursue meaningful learning rather than reinforcing their institutionalized predisposition to simply tolerate school. This bill invites school districts to exercise local authority in policy action that would benefit both the state at large and the lives of its students, while avoiding a blanket ban and tailoring policy elements to suit the needs of each individual learning community. I therefore urge the members of the Senate Education Committee to support this bill. Thank you for your time. We are available to answer any questions the committee might have.